Good day. Welcome back to the course Research Methodology, and we are in the last unit which will talk about report writing. So I'll be taking you throughout the session on how to write a technical report or an academical report. However good the research is, the way you report it in a legible manner actually it is going to speak about. So when we talk about research reporting, it's an informational work which is made with an intention to relay the information or recount certain events in a presentable manner. So after collecting and analyzing the data, the researcher has to accomplish the task of coming out with some inferences. And after coming out with the inferences, we come out with the suggestions, managerial implications, and direction for future research. And we put forth all those things in the report writing. The report is always written in a sequential manner in the order of occurrence. We start with the research question. We find out the research gap. We state the research question. Then we write the statement of the problem. Then we go into fixing of the objectives. Then the importance of the scope of the research work, need for the study. Then we come out with the action plan. From there onwards, we move on to the review of literature. And from there, we talk about the methodology, your research design, your sampling design, and then we move forward to the findings based on the hypothesis, the interpretation part, and then we later move on to the suggestions as well. So a research report is an outcome of a scientific investigation, and its purpose is to convey the information contained in the report to the reader. So it should be like a storytelling. It involves several steps to present the report in form of thesis or dissertation, or it can be a technical report also, which we put forth before the top management to make some conclusions. So this research report contains findings, analysis of the findings, interpretation, conclusion, and sometimes a recommendation. So we can actually classify reports into different types with a degree of formality and design. So we have got informal or short reports. The short reports are appropriate when the problem is well defined and the scope is limited, and if it is a simple and straightforward methodology. So short reports will actually consist of 5 pages. Letter is also a form of short report. The tone of this particular report is very informal. This format follows that of any business letter and should not exceed a few pages. So a letter report is often written in personal style. We use the word we, you, although this depends on the situation. So the other way of classifying long reports, the formal reports, are classified into two. One is technical report, another one is management report. The technical report should include full documentation and detail. It is the major source document we have. So it has the full story of what was done and how it was done. The technical report should also contain a full presentation and analysis of the significant data. So conclusion recommendation should be clearly related to specific findings. As the name implies, technical report is to be read by a technical expertise. So the data should be presented in a precise manner to them. Okay, but then the difference between technical report and management report is the technical part of it. The indicate data is not been done much in the management report. It will be converted into the words which the with the terminology where the management actually accepts to that. So it is meant for a non-technical client. So the classification of report is actually based on the reader. If you are going to submit it to a technical guy, then it is technical report, and to the top management for decision making or for the decision support system, then we call it as management report. The order of the management report allows clients to grasp the conclusion and recommendations quickly without much reading. The management report should be made liberal with the use of visual displays. So in different types of reports, you could see the components of the reports over here. See, look at this. You got nature of study, methods, data, presentation findings. We got conclusions. We got bibliography. We got the technical appendices. Then we got the index, like here, if you see in popular report, the outline is we will not be using more of the bibliography part and technical appendix and then the indexes and all. Here what we do is like we go in for only just the recommendation for action, the objectives for the study, then implications and findings, and we go in for the results. So now here comes criteria for good research. The scope and limitation of the work should be clearly defined for a good research work. The process should be clearly explained so that it can be reproduced and verified by other researchers. A thoroughly planned design that is objective as possible. Highly ethical standards which should be applied over here. All limitations should be documented. There may be statistical limitations or time may be the limitation. So you have to state all the limitations. Supposing I was explaining you in the earlier sessions, there are some conditions to report certain statistical outputs. So supposing in chi-square test, like the expected frequency, if it is more than 20% and then you are actually listed it, then you have to put that in your limitation, statistical limitations what you had. Supposing if there is a geographical limitation, that also you have to actually state it down. The data should be adequately analyzed and explained. All findings should be presented unambiguously and all conclusions should be justified by sufficient evidence. So now I am giving you the structure of the research report. So we call this as front pages. Prefatory information. Here we have got letter of transmittal, the title page. So sometimes in academic report, we call it as the bona fide certificate. We got a title page, which constitutes of the title of the report and then the person who has done it. And if there are any guides or any other person who are involved into, so that will be given over there. The logo of the concern to which the report is submitted will also be posted. The timeline, that will also be depicted over there. The authorization statement will also come over there. And they will be given permission to carry out a work over there. That also will be put forth in the prefatory information. We got an executive summary where the author who writes about it will summarize it and state it. Supposing if it is going to be a dissertation or a thesis, then we will not have executive summary. Rather than that, we will have something called as abstract. Then we will be having the table of contents with the page number. Then we will be having the table of figures and table of charts. Then we get into the chapters. The first would be the introduction, where we have got the problem statement. So I was just giving you a brief in the beginning of the session itself. So we come out with the problem statement. Then we go for the objectives of the research. So as I've already told you, when you frame the objectives, your objectives should be smart in nature. So remember that abbreviation, SMART. SMART in the sense, S is specific, M is measurable, A is attainable, R is realistic, and T is time bound. So you need to have SMART objectives and you should be very clear within the boundaries. And you need to write about the background of the study. In what context you are talking about. Supposing You did your study during pandemic, then you have to talk about that as well, because that will definitely have an impact on the work. Then comes the main part, the methodology, where it constitutes of the research design. So we talk whether it is the exploratory type of research or descriptive type of research, or whether it is a causal research or it is an action research. So then we determine the sampling design. If it is going to be a survey, then we write about the sampling. We write about the data collection method, what you have used, the data analysis, the tools and techniques which we use in the data analysis part, and then we go in for the limitations. Then comes the findings. In the findings, we come out with the results. Then we write the summary and recommendations. In many of the reports, particularly if it is a white paper or if it is open for further research, like they don't state conclusions, but then if it's technical report, then solid conclusion has to be given. Then we go in for the appendices and the bibliography. So here I have narrated all the outline what I have spoken right now in a detailed manner. So the front page should include 4 items, as I've told you: the title of the report, the date, and for whom and by whom it was prepared. The title should be brief, but it includes 3 elements: the variables of the study, the type of relationship amongst the variables, and the population to which the reports will be applied. Redundancies such as a report of, a discussion of, add length to the title, but little else. So we have to think whether we are going to state that. Many of them state that this is a study on, a report of. So you should actually be sure whether you are going to state it or not. So single word titles are of lesser value. So in descriptive study, I've stated some examples. The 5-year demand outlook for consumer packaged goods in United States. So for correlation study, relationship study, a title could be like this: the relationship between relative national inflation rates and household purchases of brand X in the international markets. Causal study, the title could be like this: the effect of various motivational methods on retail sales associates, attitudes, and performance. So we were discussing in the earlier session, like how do you measure the attitudes, which is a predisposition of behavior. Now comes the table of content. As a rough guide, any report of several sections that's total more than 6 to 10 pages should have table of content. So it actually becomes a ready reckoner for the reader. Where the page number is indicated, he can go into it and he can actually look into it again. So if there are many tables, charts, or other exhibits, then I told you, like, it should have a separate list of tables and list of charts. Introductory session. The introductory session prepares the researcher for the report be describing the parts of the project. So it constitutes of the problem statement, the objectives, the need for the study, and then the research proposal, what you actually tend to do is given over here with a minor editing. So next comes the research design. This covers about what is the type of research you are doing, what are the materials involved into it, what test are you applying, the equipments used in it. So the control conditions and other devices also could be described. So in descriptive or ex post facto research design, it may be sufficient to cover the rationale for using one design instead of competing alternatives. So here you should be very clear that you are supposed to talk only about what is that you are using in your research report. So some of them make a mistake of writing down the different types of research design available, but you are not supposed to do so. You are supposed to write about the design which you are using for your studies. So even with a sophisticated design, the strengths and weakness should be identified and the instrumentation and materials is discussed. Copies of materials are placed in the appendix. The research section, it tells about the findings of the research study. So in the previous videos, I would have shown you the interpretation of data. So it should be tabulated in a legible manner. It presents the data and findings, which is well ordered, analyzed, in ways justified. So past tense is a feature here. It describes the findings in a simple way with the help of data. The figures and tables also will appear over here. So there are two basic ways of organizing the results: presenting all the results and then finally giving a discussion, or else presenting part of the results and giving the discussions then and there itself. But you have to cite the table number or the figure number, and you have to describe what is given in the table. Recommendations and implementation section. Increasingly, researchers are expected to offer ideas for corrective actions. So in applied research, the recommendations will be for managerial actions, where we call it as managerial implications, with the researcher suggesting one or several alternatives that are supported by the findings. So also the researcher may recommend further research initiatives. In basic or pure research, recommendations are often suggestions for future study that broaden or test the understanding of the subject area. So we got the synopsis presented earlier as well. And finally, we come to the bibliography here. Bibliography is a science of the transmission of the literary documents. So what we are doing is we are telling them that I have gone through only this articles which is already there, and you put forth your article and you are giving the entire thing to the reader so that he takes care of the research to the next level based on the articles what you have reviewed already. So a bibliography is an orderly list of resources on a particular subject. Bibliography provides a full reference information of all the sources which you have consulted in preparing a particular project. So the purpose of writing a bibliography is to allow the reader to trace the sources used. So many of the reviewers, what they do is they just get into the bibliography and see what type of ingredients have you used for your reports. So types of bibliographies, we have got analytical bibliography, which talks about the descriptive, historical, and textual. You have got a systematic bibliography where you got serial bibliography, current bibliography, and period bibliography. Bibliographies for non-book sources are also there, where we call it as webography and filmography, or internet bibliography, where we come out with the link. So the elements in bibliography, we need to follow certain styles of referencing. So the most common style what we use is the Harvard style, or else the American Psychological Association. So if you find time, you can go through publication manual of the American Psychological Association. Then you can go through actually Chicago Manual of Style as well. Modern Language Association also could be referred, So we have to place it in such a way that even the full stop and the comma should not change. It's nothing but you write the name of the author, title of the document, year of publication, place of publication, edition, the volume number, the issue number, and the page number. The mechanics of writing a report, the size and physical design. It should be in an unruled paper of standard size A4. If it is handwritten, then use only black or blue ink. The margin left hand side, it should be half an inch. The left hand side should be 1 to 1.5 inches. The margin should have on the right side, it should have half an inch. And on all the three sides, actually, we can have 1 to 1.5 inches. So this will give you a legible report. The layout of the research report and various types of reports have been described in the earlier presentations as well. So the treatment of quotations should be placed in quotation marks and double spaced formatting an immediate part of the text. The footnotes are nowadays being not used. So the page numbers alone are at the footnote. So for cross-referencing, we can use the asterisk sign that can prevent confusions and supplement related to the particular word which should be mentioned at the below of the page. The documentation style will have several facts. So here you can go in for author's name in normal order, title of the work, place and date of publication, and the page number. So observations. So normally in title we don't use any observations, but when you use the observation for the first time, you expand it and put it in brackets. From there onwards, you can use the observations. Regarding use of statistics, graphs, and charts, it should be presented in terms of table, chart formats, line graphs, pictograms. So such presentation should be self-explanatory and complete in it by itself. The final report, you have to revise and rewrite the rough draft of the report with utmost care. For this purpose, the researcher should put to himself questions like, are the sentences written in the report clear? So what you should do is, in one point of time, you should be the writer. The other point of time, you should be the evaluator. So you should check by yourself. Is there any grammatical mistake? Do we understand it clearly? You should give the report to some other person who do not belong to our domain, and ask him to read and find out if he is able to understand something. So even a person who doesn't belong to our domain should understand what we have written. We have to find out whether the various points incorporated in the report fit logically. The bibliography is the list of writings with the time and place of publication. So we come out with the indexing also at the end. So citations, I told you, it's very, very important, which you have to mark properly. So in the citations, actually, we have got print sources, we have got electronic sources, we have got media sources. So what to do if we come across something unusual, not covered? So it will be like personal communication, materials and websites, unpublished sources. Then you can write, you have to state that as well. So why should we do citation? Citing identifies sources used in the research report. It of course gives credit to the researcher, okay, by the author and writers who have done the work already, because you are borrowing their knowledge and you are acknowledging that their work has played a significant role in shaping up your research. So otherwise, if you don't cite, then it becomes plagiarism. So it allows others to follow on or to retrieve this material as well. So that's what I said. To avoid the charges of plagiarism, you are supposed to cite it and you are supposed to report it in the references. You need not repeat what they have said. Likewise, self-citation also could be avoided. You need not write the same thing the next time also. You can write it in your reference and then you can actually ask them to go back to the work what you have done already. Okay, done and published. So here comes an important thing which all of us should bear in mind while we do research, which is called as research ethics. Now this particular research ethics has become a mandatory paper in the academic research, particularly for PhD. So research ethics refers to a diverse set of values, norms, and institutional regulations that help constitute and regulate scientific activity. The objectives of research ethics is to protect human participants, to ensure the research is conducted in such a way that it serves the interest of individuals, groups, and society. There are institutional ethics committee where you go and present your work and get clearance from them. So that number has to be actually referred. And likewise, you have to state, supposing you do research with human beings, then you have to say that there is an informed consent, because everyone will have their own privacy zone. So you will inform them, and it will show that they have willingly supported your work and they have given answers to the questions what you have asked. So this research ethics is to examine specific research activities and projects for their ethical soundness, protection of confidentiality. If supposing they don't want to publish the data, then you can conceal the name of the company or anyone, and then you can publish it. And it is a process of informed consent as well. So issues related to ethical concern in research is plagiarism, misuse of privileged information, data, authorship and other publication issues, interference. It pays well. Research with animal disadvantages, research with humans. So you have to look into the ethics committees as well and take up their recommendations. So supposing the guidelines what we need to follow. So Indian Council of Medical Research has ethical guidelines for biomedical research on human participants. UNESCO has also spoken about that. Integrity of research enterprises has to be maintained. Potential benefits, harmful effects to the participants and society has to be stated. You have to consider the effect of his or her work, including the consequences or the misuse. So we have got National Committee for Ethics in Social Research in Health. Ethical guidelines for social science research in health is also there, where informed consent has to be got. Participants should be offered access to research results, reported widely, it should be acknowledged, and it should be preserved. So you have got lots and lots of databases where you can collect the data for the documentation part. So here it should have a uniform format organized for ease and speed of search and retrieval, and we have managed with the aid of DBMS software as well. So I will give you inputs on where you could collect your data. It is from, there are many databases like EBSCO, EveNet, Emerald, Science Direct. So varieties of disciplines are available: psychology, history, business. Then many scholarly popular databases are also there. Journal articles. We have got PsycInfo, which is subject specific. So special features are also there. Citation is also possible in different styles also. So the content usually published through a professional organization or society is the database. So the other commercial databases are World Flag Database, Plans for a Future, Mineralogy Database, Edgar Database. So all these databases are available. So you can use the databases pertaining to the research work what you are into. So here the research metrics, a system or standard of measurement. The metrics are measures of quantitative assessment commonly used for assessing, comparing and tracking performance or production. It's aimed to quantify and monitor the importance of published research. Research metrics are the fundamental tools used across the publishing industry to measure performance both at the journal level and as well as at the author level. The decision makers who are interested can come with the citation metrics also. To gain insight into the performance of the article, citation is very, very important. So research metrics talks about the quality of research work done by an author. So it includes a variety of measures and statistical methods for assessing the quality and broader impact of scientific and scholarly research, as well as to track the researcher's impact factor. Okay, this is the credit what a researcher gets, the author gets when he or she publishes a work. Thank you so much for the patient listening. See you in some other occasion.